300 years ago, the will of heaven appeared. Countless secret kingdoms and dungeons descended to Earth. Along with them came numerous powerful demons who proclaimed the apocalypse for humanity. After the initial chaos, the awakened emerged. The Job Changers possessed a powerful power that helped them defeat those monsters and save the world from its near destruction. To fight against the monsters, the Job Changers continued to explore the secret kingdoms in order to obtain wealth and materials. Nations began working hard to cultivate these Job Changers, allowing everyone to awaken at the age of 18. The day came to awaken a class for students turning 18. To awaken a class, one had to touch a magical blue crystal. Several students touched the crystal. One student named Wang Wei from the 3rd year of Class 2 failed to awaken a class and was labeled as a student without a class. Another student named Lai Wei from Class 3 of the year successfully awakened the swordsman class. Another student named Wang Hao from Class 3 of the 2nd year successfully awakened the crafter class. The awakenings were usually divided into 3 categories, according to their class: combat, support, and creation. The combat category was the most practical and everyone wanted to obtain it, while on the other hand, no one wanted to obtain the creation category, since in this category were those who couldn't fight and were considered the weakest and despised by everyone. Several more students touched the crystal and a student with purple hair became happy as he awakened the combat category called Magic Swordsman. On the other hand, another student became sad and started crying because he had awakened the creation category. He began to wonder why he had managed to awaken this class that was not good for combat. After the awakening ceremony was completed, the class range was also divided, usually into 4 categories: common, secret, and divine. Among them, a divine rank was the rarest. This rank could only be seen once every 100 years. It was our protagonist's turn, Jiang Chen, to touch the crystal and awaken a class. He touched the crystal and it began emitting a powerful light. Upon seeing this, the other students were astonished. A brown-haired boy pointed his finger at Jiang Chen and told everyone that he was the prodigy of the academy. Another student informed the others that this was a sign of an awakening. While Jiang Chen was touching the crystal, it began to emit a powerful light that started advancing rapidly towards the sky. The students began to wonder what rank this class was. Several thought it could be a divine class, as Jiang City hadn't produced a divine talent in hundreds of years. In a matter of seconds, the crystal started emitting a powerful light that formed a giant tree in the sky, visible from every corner of the city. It was said that every time a divine rank class awakens, a phenomenon occurs that can shake the heavens and the earth. Several seconds later, the awakening of the class was successful, and while Jiang Chen was touching the crystal with one hand, he put his other hand in his pants pocket and simply stared at the sky. At that moment, Director Wang appeared. He approached Jiang Chen and congratulated him for being the pride of the school. Although he knew that Jiang Chen could awaken a combat class, he did not expect him to awaken a divine class. After saying this, Director Wang asked Jiang Chen which class he had awakened. Jiang Chen turned his head slightly towards the director and was somewhat surprised. With a smile, he explained to Director Wang that the class he had awakened was not a combat class. Upon hearing this, Director Wang was shocked. With a surprised look on his face, he started looking at Jiang Chen. Seeing that Jiang hadn't awakened a combat class, he asked him if he had then awakened a support class. Jiang Chen turned his body towards Director Wang, extended his hands to the sides, and plants made of spirits appeared in the palms of his hands. He revealed to everyone that he had awakened the creation class of divine rank called Spiritual Master. He also added that this talent was meant to assist with the growth of plantations and small creatures. Upon hearing this, both the director and others were shocked. With a surprised look, he began to stare at Jiang Chen and explained that this was bad because the creation class did not have combat abilities, so even divine rank was considered useless. The professor accompanying Director Wang asked Jiang Chen not to be discouraged since even if he couldn't fight, at least he could be safe. He explained that spiritual masters were quite popular in the field of research. He also added that the recommendation he had promised was no longer possible. He advised Jiang Chen to enter the research field as a professor could get him a letter of recommendation. Just before the professor could finish speaking, Jiang Chen interrupted him. He turned his head towards him and thanked him with a smile. He put his hands in his jacket pockets, and while walking away from the professors, he explained that he had something to do. One of the students started laughing and told his classmate that this was a farce, as he had thought Jiang Chen had obtained some kind of divine combat class, but it turned out to be just a creation class. The other student put his hand near his face and told his friend that life was full of surprises. He also added that everyone thought Jiang the prodigy of the academy, would awaken a combat class, and now no matter how much he excelled academically, he would be considered useless. Jiang Chen put his hands in his pants pockets and began heading towards the exit, while the students nearby started mocking him. One of the students told the others that this was quite enjoyable to watch, as Jiang Chen had been the king of hard work since he entered the academy. Another student told the others that he had worked so hard only to end up getting a creation class. Another student told the others that Lin, the school beauty who always came in second place, had awakened a secret combat class. Upon hearing so many jokes, Jiang Chen simply smiled and thought that just a moment ago, those two students had been very cruel to him. He hadn't expected that awakening up with a creation class would change things so drastically. Thinking about this, he had no doubt that in this world only strength mattered. He began to wonder what was wrong with the creation class, so he reached out his hand and a system window appeared above the palm of his hand. According to the system notification, Jiang Chen had successfully completed his class awakening. He had awakened the class called Divine Rank Spiritual Master, and the conditions for opening the Natural Calamity insect system had also been fulfilled, with the initial mother of insects being unlocked. Jiang Chen turned his head to the side, and as he stared at the system window, he couldn't help but smile, thinking that this class was a perfect fit for him. The name of our protagonist was Jiang Chen. After dying, he was reborn in this awakened world. After the Dark Era ended, the whole world became filled with various monsters and dungeons. It was from that day that this world began to respect the strong. He had been reborn as an orphan to survive in this harsh world. Despite having nothing in this world, he gave it his all before turning 18. He thought he was going to have to rely on his own skills to make a living. To his surprise, a month ago, on an ordinary day, a system window appeared in front of him to inform him that the Insect Calamity system would be merged after class awakening, and the system would activate after a successful transfer. Jiang Chen put his hand on his chin, and while looking at the system window, he thought that the insect race, which had once devastated humanity during the Dark Era, was an extremely powerful race. He had heard that the last time a natural calamity occurred, 9 out of the 12 kings of the human race were sacrificed to seal it. He clenched his fist tightly and thought that in this world, strength was everything. There was nothing to doubt. He began to stare fixedly at the system window, and while his body emitted a powerful energy, he thought that as long as he could use the strength of the insect race for himself, the insect race would have no chance against him. Without thinking any further, Jiang Chen activated the system, and by doing so, he was teleported inside the system. He started looking around and became somewhat confused. He began to look ahead. He put his hand near his head to cover his eyes and thought that this was his own sea of consciousness. In front of him there was a great spiritual tree. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chen began to wonder if this was his talent. He had not expected it to be a tree. More system windows appeared. Jiang Chen had several class talents. These talents were evolutions of all things, and sacrifice was required. They could be used once every 10 days and were limited to 1 use per target. The first talent was called Fruits of All Things. Through sacrifice, Jiang Chen could advance the growth progress of fruits, and a special fruit could randomly fall. The second talent was called Improved Growth. This ability allowed him to increase the growth rate of living beings. Currently, this ability increased the growth rate by 10%. By using this ability, Jiang could accelerate the growth of all living beings, and the duration of cooldown was 8 hours. Jiang Chen put his hand on his chin, and while he was looking at the system window, he thought that this system was good since it had even proactively analyzed his talent. Although these talents seemed to lack combat ability, each one could be applied to his system. While he was distracted, a system window appeared asking him if he would like to start summoning the mother insect. Without hesitation, Jiang Chen asked the system to summon the mother insect. At that moment, an evil energy began to emerge from the ground, and a system notification window appeared to inform him that the mother insect was being summoned. As Jiang stared at the energy, he thought that the mother insect had a strong presence. Several seconds later, another system window appeared to inform him that the summoning of the natural calamity rank mother insect called 9 Wings of Miasma had been successfully completed. The mother of the insects was a gigantic creature. She began to stare at Jiang Chen, who took several steps back and was amazed. The status window of the mother of the insects appeared. She was called 9 Miasma Wing. From the abyss she was known as the Sovereign of Death. Once as a calamity, she caused a catastrophe as great as a natural disaster and then disappeared during the Third Era. The current devouring value of her was 0%. Jiang had a 100% affinity with the insect mother. Jiang had to proceed with the devouring and start breeding the next generation of insects to unlock abilities. The insect mother approached Jiang, who was amazed and began wondering why she was so enormous. The insect mother began to stare at Jiang and addressed him as a master. She introduced herself as Little Nine and explained that she was very hungry and wanted to devour fierce beasts. Another system window appeared to inform him that the growth rate of the insect mother had increased by 10%. Now, Jiang could use a sacrificial object to enhance this target. The first enhancement would not consume any sacrificial objects thanks to his talent. Jiang slightly raised his head, and while looking at the system window, he thought that now that he didn't need to use a sacrificial object, there was no time to waste. Without hesitation, he asked the system to upgrade the insect mother. The body of the insect mother began to envelop itself in a powerful green light, and while Jiang was observing this, he thought that she needed to devour in order to level up, so she wasn't going to be easy to please. The body of the insect mother started emitting a powerful aura, and quickly Jiang assumed an offensive stance. Little by little, the insect mother began to evolve and take on the form of a human woman. Several seconds later, the insect mother successfully evolved. Her body began to emit a powerful aura. She had white hair and wore armor. With a murderous look, she started staring at Jiang. Slowly, she began to advance towards Jiang, and a system window appeared above her head. The Queen of the New Plague had undergone a vital transition and leveled up. Along with leveling up, she gained new abilities. The first ability was called Nurture. With this ability, she could share the experience 10 times with the host. The second ability was called Poisonous Mist. With this ability, she could transform into deadly miasma, corroding everything. The third and final ability was called Communion. This ability allowed her to enhance all of the host's abilities by 20%. Upon seeing the form of the insect mother, Jiang was surprised. The mother insect gained momentum and pounced on Jiang to give him a hug. She explained to him that Little Nine had evolved. Jiang was somewhat confused as he didn't know what was happening. He turned his head slightly towards her and couldn't help but blush upon seeing that the insect mother had evolved into a human form. She stopped hugging Jiang, and he started stroking her head. She closed her eyes, clenched both fists, and referred to Jiang as a master. With a smile, she explained that Little Nine wanted to devour flesh and blood. While Jiang was stroking her head, a status window appeared above her head. Her name was Nine Miasma Wing, and she had 4 abilities: Poison Mist, Feed, Fury, and United. Currently, her devouring value was 0. Once the devouring value bar was filled up, she could start spawning offspring. She had 2 passive abilities called Experience Return and Attribute Enhancement. While Jiang was stroking Little Nine's head, he started looking at her stat window and thought that the spiritual master talent could accelerate the devouring growth of the insect mother, as well as her experience growth, which in turn would speed up his own improvement. Furthermore, the insect mother was capable of increasing all his attributes by 20%. Jiang's class and this system were a perfect combination. With this, he didn't need a combat class. He extended his hands to the sides, and a bunch of insects started coming out of the palm of his hands. He turned his head towards the insects and was amazed. As long as he killed and devoured quickly, he could soon have an army of insects. Jiang turned his head towards the great spiritual tree and thought about what the system message had just mentioned. Insects, abyss, a catastrophe as big as a natural calamity. Combined with this incomplete information, it was clear that this was not something that could easily be shown to others. Being discovered could lead him to his demise. He put his hands in his pockets, and while he was looking at the spiritual tree, for now he decided to use his class identity as creation, and the poisonous miasma abilities of the insect mother as cover to devour monsters and increase his strength. Hiding was not Jiang's style. He wanted to become strong enough to show off his skills to the world. While he was lost in thought, the sea of consciousness water began to move. Seeing this, the insect mother quickly jumped up and started flying. As they both looked at the water, Jiang explained to her that this could only mean one thing. At that moment, with a murderous look, the insect mother turned her head back and caught Jiang's attention. While she was looking back, she started to smile and explained to Jiang that she felt there was a threat. At that moment, Jiang exited the system space, and upon seeing what was in front of him, he was shocked. In front of him there was a man much taller than him. This man had black hair, a beard, and had a scar on his eye. The man approached Jiang and started staring into his eyes, remaining silent for several seconds. The man asked Jiang if the awakening phenomenon that the whole city had seen before had been activated by him. While Jiang was staring at the man, he clenched his teeth tightly and realized that he was at least a master rank or higher. He became alert and started wondering why he was being sought after. This is the end of the video. If you